on the flip side, you're going to say like, oh, it's other people, it's God, it's this person, this person, this person. No, sometimes it's you. Sometimes you are the cause of your own downfall. Sometimes I feel like I wish I had a hoe phase. Like, I used to tell my girlfriends like, y'all, I wish I had a hoe phase. Like, I wish I was outside. Like, y'all was all outside during college. Everybody was outside, you know, living it up. And I didn't have, you know, in college I was really a tomboy. So these boys was not checking for me at all. And if they was, they weren't telling me. I'm the one. The original, there ain't no blueprint, I'm not neurotypical. I'm used to being the light in the darkness. They say I'm chosen, I say it ain't far-fetched. Yeah, I'm the oldest. The cape that I wear is the boldness. I'm probably the first on your mind when you think about who is the one that could hold this. No one they notice. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Sincerely the Oldest with Miss Amarachi. If you're new here, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening audibly, make sure that you hit the follow and the post notification button so that you are notified every time that I drop an episode, which is now going to be Wednesdays at 7 p.m. So that is a new update alert. I will now be dropping new episodes Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Originally, I was dropping at 9 a.m. On Wednesdays, but I found that is a tricky time because, like, yes, people are going to work, but they're like more so focused on work. So I was like, let me try to drop in a time or during a time where people are kind of leaving work, winding down. So I'm going to do, actually scratch that, I'm going to do 8 p.m. So I'm actually going to drop 8 p.m. Eastern weekly on Wednesdays moving forward. So it's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. I think that's what, 6 Central? Something like that. Yeah. But yes, welcome back to another episode. Before we get started though, as always, we're going to say a prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the opportunity to come back and speak to your people. Lord, I pray that you'll speak to and through me, Lord. Let this message resonate with at least one soul. Continue to guide and protect us all. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. How y'all doing? How are y'all doing? I am doing better. Truthfully, I've been on a roller coaster of emotions the past few weeks. That was one of the reasons why I didn't drop an episode last week. I've just been going through a lot personally, and I just didn't have the energy or like the want to really record a new episode. And for me, like, yes, it is important for me to bring my authentic self, but if I can't bring my best authentic self, then I'm not going to force it. And being as though I typically batch record content anyway, and I didn't have any more episodes to just drop, I was just like, let me just take a little pause. But we're back. We're in full force. I'm going to be dropping these last 7 episodes because, of course, as I told you on the first episode, this will be a 10-episode season. To be determined if I'm going to have any guests this season because everyone is busy. But it's all good. You know, to God be the glory that I even have the opportunity to come and speak to you all. But yeah, so I'm going to be back. I'm back. I'm going to be, you know, full force, the whole 9. And yeah, I just had to take some time. But today I'm feeling pretty good. Again, I've been having a roller coaster of emotions. I was down for a little bit, just mentally and emotionally exhausted. And it's funny because last night I had a little session in the room, in my room by myself here, and it actually is what encouraged me to do the topic that I'm going to do today. So yeah, but I hope everyone is doing well, and if you're not doing well, I hope that your day, week, month, year gets better. So let's get into this topic. Today's topic is called the pressure to marry. The pressure to marry. Again, it was partially, this topic was partially selected because I had a little crying session last night. And it's also something that's been on my mind lately a lot. Especially when I reflect on all of the relationships that are around me, all the people around me that are in relationships, whether it's, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend, married for a year, 2 years, 30 years, 40 years, and even like my single friends. This topic was, again, influenced by a lot of the things that have been happening around me. So last night, as I mentioned, I had a little crying session, which was a fun time because I was here by myself crying, screaming, cussing God out. Which, side note, I be cussing God out. Now, should I? I don't know, that's debatable. When I say cussing, I don't be cussing, but I really be going off on God, like, because sometimes I be feeling some type of way, because I'm like, sir, like, what do you got going on? And something that I had shared with my close friends on Instagram was that sometimes I feel like God forgot about me. Like, and it's crazy that I say that, because you look around and you see, or I see, all the blessings, obviously, like all the blessings that have been bestowed upon me, you know, the grace and the graciousness that God has given me to continue to push through every adversity that I'm faced with. But of course, human nature is to always think about what you don't have and what you lack, and where you want God to show up and show out, even though, again, He showed up and showed out in other areas and other spaces in your life. And so I digress. But last night I was really sitting in my room, in my apartment, and I was thinking, like, and I was talking to God. I'm like, God, did you forget about me? And the reason why I said that is because I was having a conversation with one of my sisters, actually, and she was just talking about, like, her relationships, like her, you know, romantic relationship, and like just how the fact that she's like dating now, back dating again. She took some time off from it. Excuse me. And I asked her, I was like, you know, who are you talking to? And she was like, you know, talking about it. And that happened a few days ago. And then I was talking to another one of my girlfriends, and she was talking about how she's in a new relationship, kind of. She's like talking to somebody new, and it's going really, really well. And then I was talking to my other sister. She was talking about her relationship. And then I talked to my best friend. She was talking about her marriage. And I'm just like seeing the people around me, like, you know, thriving and flourishing in their relationships. And of course, I'm happy for them. And I've never, you know, will never not be happy for the people around me, because at the end of the day, like, the goal is for all of us to be married, mothers, wives, in thriving, flourishing, happy relationships. But of course, again, like, one would be foolish to not sit back and reflect on their own relationship or lack thereof. And so I was in my room yesterday, again, being really reflective, and let me turn this mic. There we go. So again, I was in my room being really reflective, and I was just like, dang, bruh, like, God, did you forget about me? Like, where is my husband? Where is my man? Where is my relationship? Like, I would love to, sorry, y'all, I keep playing with this mic because I feel like it's not, like, picking up my words unless I'm talking directly into it, but I'm going to just go with it. But anyway, I was asking God, like, did you forget about me? Like, what you got going on? Like, why does it feel like I'm like the last person to be in a relationship? And then that made me like really reflect on my life in general. And I'm just like, why haven't I ever been really in a relationship? Like, most people, when I say this, they're like, huh? Like, that's crazy. But I've never had a real relationship. I've never had a real boyfriend. I was in a little relationship in high school, but it was just like, it wasn't real. It was like a week, so that don't count. And that's not to say that guys haven't approached me, they haven't wanted to talk to me, and I'll get into like why those haven't flourished and developed into other things. But I was sitting here and I was like, God, like, did you forget about me? Like why does it feel like, you know, everybody else around me is like thriving in relationships and I'm not in one? And so God didn't talk back to me. In case you were wondering if God responded, He did not. He hasn't yet, at least. You know, sometimes you talk to God and He's just like listening and downloading, and then He'll give you the answer later. But in case you're wondering, He did not respond to my question. But again, I've been really reflective, and I've been thinking about like why I'm in the position that I'm in. And like, there are a lot of reasons why, right? Like, from a spiritual lens, I saw this TikTok once, and this girl, I think it was a girl or a boy, had said that they too had never been in a relationship, but they realized that, or they felt like God hides. Oh no, it was a clip I saw. It was a clip from the B. Simone podcast, and there was a man there, and I think B. Simone was saying like she don't need a man, like, and then the man was saying like, you know, what do you mean you don't need a man? Like, everybody needs a companion. Everyone needs somebody to go through life with. God didn't put us on earth to do life alone, right? God's intent for us is to be married. And then he had said, like, you know, God always hides His prized possessions. And so it's just that you've been hidden, but there's a reason why you were hidden. It's because the one that God wants to find you hasn't gotten to you yet, or is not ready to find you, right? So I think that there's that there's that aspect, right? Whether I believe that or not, I mean, I feel like that may be true. But it made me reflect on like how I've gotten to the place that I'm in, and how my past and my circumstances and situations have disallowed me to be able to be in a relationship. So first of all, I'm African, as you all know. Now, in African households, you're not allowed to be in a relationship when you're young, and then out of nowhere, they want you to be married. Growing up, my parents were like, you can't have a boyfriend. Boyfriend, never. I remember there was a boy that said he wanted to be in a relationship with me. He also said other things, which was crazy. It wasn't sane. And my mama went to his house and knocked on his door. His mom was there. I think she was scared of us. And she said, if your son ever sends my daughter a message like this again, we're going to take care of him. Do with that what you will. So, of course, my mom, like, you know, got the message across to him and to us. Like, there's no space for relationships in this house. When you're a child, none of that, right? And then when I graduated from college, it was, where's your husband? Where's your relationship? And I was like, how am I supposed to have a husband when y'all didn't even let me date? On the flip side, though, by the time my sisters were, you know, in grade school, my parents were tired of enforcing rules. So they've had boyfriends since they were like in the 5th grade. And of course now they're in a space where like relationships to them is like easy and commonplace. So there was that also, again, disallowed and hindered me from having a relationship. And then also just like being the oldest daughter, because I had so many responsibilities taking care of my sisters, I physically did not have time to entertain anyone except for my sisters and my mom. Like, how am I supposed to be in a relationship in high school when I have to get off of school and go home to watch kids? When am I going to have time to be on the phone and be kikiing with a boy when I have to feed my sisters and get them ready for bed? When do I have time to be in a relationship when I have to babysit, watch my sisters, take them to after school activities, take them this place, you know, be with my mom, help my mom, go to this place? Like, I just did not physically have time to do it because I had so many responsibilities in the house. And so again, like, I have been, and I was last night reflecting on all of these things. And then that made me think about just like oldest daughters in general. I have a family member who will be on the podcast at some point in time. And she is also the oldest daughter. She's never been in a relationship either. And I think about like how her upbringing has hindered her from being in a relationship, or has, you know, made her not have time to be in a relationship, because not only is she the oldest daughter, she's also the oldest grandchild in our family. And so literally she's pulled in every direction. So it's like, when does she have time to date? And now she's older, she's in her mid-30s, and now she's like, what the heck? So I think about things like that, and it makes me reflect on, like, you know, again, my life, and like not wanting to, you know, get to the point where it's like, all right, let me just get in an arranged marriage and call it quits. And so, you know, I say all that to say the pressure to marry for oldest daughters is insane, especially when you think about the fact that we're not even allowed to date. My parents have not always, but my parents recently have, you know, kind of been like, hey, what's going on, you know? We want grandkids, and I'm like, grandkids, look at this economy. I mean, diapers are $50 for a pack of 10. We're in a recession. Where are these grandkids gonna live? Where are they gonna stay? They gonna stay in my 1-bedroom apartment? No. You want grandkids before I have a husband? No. And then I have like my grandmother who's calling me from Nigeria all the time, and she's like, I want my rapa, I want my rapa. And for those who don't understand what that, like why she's saying that, in Nigerian culture, your husband or fiance will bring your grandmother, grandmother figure, a wrapper, like material, like to make clothes material, and that's like their way of saying, like their way of like, you know, getting the blessing from the grandmother. So my grandmother's like, you know, I want my wrapper before I pass. And I'm like, Miss Mama's like, I too am ready for my husband, but alas, they say he who finds a wife. It's not finna be she who finds a husband. So I'm trying to do this the right way. But like, again, like, as I sit and reflect, on, my girlfriends who are married, wives, my sisters who are, in relationships, situationships, whatever, my close friends who are in relationships, it does make me like sit back and be like, dang, bro, like, when is my time gonna come? Like, and that's what I was asking God last night. Like, when is it gonna be my time? Like, have you forgotten about me? Like, what is it that, what am I doing wrong, for lack of like a better question? Like, what is it that I'm doing wrong? Like, am I doing something wrong? Like, what is going on? And again, like, I want to also acknowledge the fact that it is not that people are not coming to marry. It's not that I can't have a boyfriend, because truthfully, I could be married. Like, it's not that there's not people that are like, oh, you're my wife, you're my wife, you're my wife. It's just that, and again, I think that because I'm older and because I genuinely do not have time to just be dating just to like pass time, like, I am dating to marry. If I don't foresee you being a husband, a father, my partner for life, I am not going to continue this. Like, I've talked to people, and again, because I'm older, because I have discernment, because God really does not play with me, the same way they say men know, I be knowing. Like, I can talk to you for 1 day, 2 days, a week, and I've done it. I've talked to people for a week and been like, this is not it. You're not my husband. As much as they beg, plead, they jump over fences, they go to this person, convince her, tell her, please, like, I want her, da-da-da. I know for me, you're not my husband. So I'm not even about to waste my time here. As much as they say, oh, you're my wife, you're my wife, you're my wife, I know that you're not my husband. I'm not finna waste my time or your time. And so, yeah, like, watching the relationships around me flourish and thrive and grow, and people always, like, every day it's like someone else is getting engaged, someone else is getting married. I've had to think and reflect and ask, like, myself, like, am I doing something wrong? What am I doing? Asking God. And in reflection, I have figured out a few things. Number one, which is going to be funny to admit, I've said this out loud before, and I think that it's important to always admit your fault or you're wrong in situations. Sometimes it was me. Sometimes it was my fault. Sometimes it is us. Like, and again, like, it's so important to say that, name it, acknowledge it, accept it, because on the flip side, you're going to say like, oh, it's other people, it's God, it's this person, this person, this person. No, sometimes it's you. Sometimes you are the cause of your own downfall. And I do think that, and I reflect on my experiences with men and like my upbringing and like again, even just like interactions, sometimes it was me. Now, was it me on purpose? No. Sometimes it was me because I didn't know how to maneuver the situation. I remember there was a situation where I was out with my best friend one day, and we had went out with some of her friends, and there was this guy there, and again, because I've never been in a relationship, like, and I was a little younger then, interacting with men, like, truthfully scared me and like gave me a lot of like hesitation. And I wasn't as secure. I was very insecure, like, back in the day. So I wasn't as secure with myself, what I brought to the table. Now, you can't tell me nothing. Do you see what I bring to the table? It's not just the beauty and the brains. I bring a lot to the table. So that's why, side note, that's why don't ask me what do you bring to the table, because I'm going to walk away. My answer's going to be nothing, because I know what I bring, but I'm not finna tell, what do you bring to the table? Don't ask me no goofy, don't ask me that. But anyway, so I was out with my friend, my best friend, and there was a guy there. He looked good. He looked so good. Like, I'm not going to lie to y'all. He looked very good. But he was like, I guess he was like, interested in me. And that's another thing. This is another side note. Men, this is to the men. I am the type of person, you have to tell me that you want me. I am not going to insinuate, infer, guess anything. you have to tell me verbatim, Amarachi, I'm interested in you. Amarachi, I think you look good. Amarachi, I want your number. Amarachi, I want to get to know you. Amarachi, I want to take you on a date. I am not going to be Raven. I can see into the future. I cannot read your mind. I don't know what you're thinking. You have to tell me verbatim. If not, I'm going to act aloof, and I'm not going to know, because I can insinuate that you want me, and then you could really be like, nah, I was just being nice, and then I'm going to look goofy. So unless you tell me verbatim, I want to get to know you, I'm not going to know that you want to get to know me. But anyway, so like I said, let me finish the story out. So there was a guy there. He was like, talking to me, boom, boom, boom. He was reflecting on the situation. I could tell that he was interested in getting to know me, but he didn't say it verbatim. So the night ends. I go back to my friend's apartment, and she cussed me out. I'm like, why you cussing me out? She like, this boy wanted you. I said, no, he didn't. She said, I know him. I've been in situations with him. I've seen other women try to push up on him, and he's like, he's never acted this way towards somebody. He wanted you. And I'm like, I wouldn't know, because he didn't say anything. So she calls her husband in. Her husband and I are both from the DMV. So, but she's from California. So she's like, this is what happened. And so her husband is like, I can understand what you're saying to my best friend, but I can understand why Amarachi wouldn't think that he wanted her, because this is how girls in the DMV act. This is how, like, for them, you have to be straightforward. Like, I want you. Like, I'm trying to get to know you. And so I don't even know why I said that story, but again, I reflect on like interactions like that where like it was partially my fault, because I did like clam up a little bit. I could kind of get the sense that he was trying to like, but I was kind of like, because I was really insecure. He looked good, and back then I didn't think I looked that good, even though I always look good. So I was like, this guy can't want me. So those are the times where like I reflect, and like I'm like, okay, it is on me. But then on the flip side, and this is I guess to like round up, the story, or round up like this topic, I think about the message that the man gave B. Simone, and I think about the fact that for the majority of my life, as it pertains to men, I have been hidden, and I do think that has been partially God's protection. I look at the situations and the issues that my friends and my family have gone through with relationships, and I'm just like, thank God that I didn't go through that, right? Like, prayerfully to God, I've never had heartbreak. I've never been in love. I've never had a bad breakup. I've never had a bad situationship. I've never had those experiences, and I see it as God's protection. Like, I see it as like, God is like, I don't think I wanted to put you through this. Being transparent, I told my friends, I was like, sometimes I wish I had a HOE phase. I don't know if they're going to flag. Sometimes I feel like I wish I had a hoe phase. Like, I used to tell my girlfriends, like, y'all, I wish I had a hoe phase. Like, I wish I was outside. Like, y'all was all outside during college. Everybody was outside, living it up. And I didn't have, in college I was really a tomboy. So these boys was not checking for me at all. And if they was, they weren't telling me. And my best friends be telling me like, girl, no. Like, do you know the heartbreak that we went through in college? You don't want a hoe phase. And I'll be like, no, like, I'm trying to be outside. Hindsight 2020, I'm happy I didn't have no hoe phase, because I would have crashed out. Like, I wouldn't have been able to handle that. But I look at those situations, and I look at the fact that, like, again, because I don't have as much dating experience or as much like relationship experience as others, I do see it as like God's protection, God's intervention, like, because I feel like, because I have, and this is not to say that other people who are in the opposite situation don't have as much to give, but I know how special I am. I know how special I am. I know like how great of a wife I'm going to be. I know how great of a mother I'm going to be. I know how great of a partner I'm going to be. I know what I bring to the table. Like, I know how great I am, and God knows how great I am, and God knows how great I'm going to be in all the places and spaces He's going to put me in. And so I feel like, to some extent, like, God has been shielding me. God has been hiding me. God has been preparing me to be a great mother, to be a great wife, to be a great partner, to be a great woman. And had I been through all the heartache, heartbreak, trials and tribulations, I don't know that I would have been able to be a great mom, wife, person that I am today and will be in the future. And so, again, it has partially been me, but I feel like it also partially has been God. And at the end of the day, like, after yesterday's crying session, I realized that it might not have been that God forgot about me, but God is still getting things together. And I'll conclude with this. I saw another TikTok where a girl said that everything has to fall in place in order for your blessing to come. So we sit back and we are like, God, let's say, for example, again with this topic, God, I'm ready to be a wife. Well, everything has to fall in place in order for that to happen, right? So God may already know, God already knows who your husband is. And your husband or wife might also know who they are, right? So like, my husband might already know that I'm his wife. And I may already know who I feel like God has placed as my husband. But you got to think about the fact that, let's say my husband already knows I'm his wife. What if my husband doesn't live in the DMV and doesn't want to do long distance? I got to think about that. So maybe God doesn't want my husband to do, me and my husband to do long distance. And maybe he's in a different state or a different country. He now has to figure out, God has to now figure out how to get me to him or him to me. That's number one. Number two, there's another factor that also comes into play. What if my husband is in a relationship, but he's still my husband? God has to figure out, or he has to figure out, my husband has to figure out how to get out of the relationship he's in order for us to be together. That's number two. Number three, what if my husband is in a job where he doesn't have a lot of ability to be a husband or be a father? So God now has to rearrange his job, rearrange his situation, you know what I'm saying, for him to come and be a husband or a wife. What if God needs to put the funds into his pocket because my husband feels like, I don't want to date her for 1 year. I want to date her for 6 months and I'm going to propose. But if I'm going to date her for 6 months and propose, I got to have the money to get the ring that I want for her, to put the wedding together that I want for us to have. You know what I'm saying? So the TikTok was saying there are so many factors and things that have to align perfectly for you and your husband, your wife, to be able to be joined. I think about my best friend who met her husband in the DMV, got a job in a different state, and thankfully her husband was able to move with her. But what would have happened if he wasn't able to move? Would they be married today? Only God knows. I think about my other best friend who both her and her husband are in the foreign service. I remember before she, got with her husband, she was in a relationship with somebody else who wasn't in the foreign service. And then it just so happened that it aligned perfectly. Her and her husband met in the perfect situation, and they were both out of a relationship. And then they were both able to work it out to where this person goes here and this person goes here, but we were able to finally come together, and now they are married, have a child, and are serving in the same country. Do you know how much God had to do and put in place in order for that to happen? So I hang on to that. I hang on to that, the promise that God has given me. There are too many people in this world that have told me, Amarachi, what I see for you, where you're going, the relationship, the husband, the family, the children you're going to have are going to far exceed your expectations. So I hold on to those promises, I hold on to those prophecies, and I thank God in advance. And with that, I want to say the onion for the oldest today is God's time is the best time. I do have a tattoo. I am tatted up, team tatted. And the tattoo says Ogechi Kama, which means in Igbo, which means God's time is the best time. Truthfully, God's time is the best time. Like I said earlier, it's not that I couldn't be married, but I don't think God was ready for me to be a wife when I wanted to be a wife. I think about the fact that God didn't want me to have this podcast until it was time for me to have this podcast. And so in God's timing, I will be a wife. and I will be a mother, and I'll be a great wife, and I'll be a great mother, and I can't wait for that time to come. But until that time comes, I'm going to stay, I'm going to stay grounded, and I'm going to have my days where I'm going to be sad and frustrated and upset with God, but I'm going to hold on to His promise that His timing is the best, and when it's time for everything to align, it will align in perfect timing. And with that, that is all I have for you all today. Thank you so much for joining on another episode of Sincerely the Oldest with Miss Amarachi. Like I said in the beginning, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. Also, leave a comment, leave a thumbs up. If you're listening to this audibly, leave a star, leave a comment. This helps grow my platform. So this show abruptly stopped, so I'm gonna actually just go ahead and conclude because I don't know what it's gonna do. But like I said, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. Tune in next week at 8 p.m. for another episode of Sincerely the Oldest. As always, it's your Miss Amarachi. Stay blessed, bold, and beautiful. Mwah. I'm the one, the original. There ain't no blueprint, I'm not neurotypical. I'm used to being the light in the darkness. They say I'm chosen, I say it ain't far-fetched. Yeah, I'm the oldest.